All right, we are back. It's No Apologies on Beck, and we are very happy to welcome Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. Senator Blackburn, thank you very much for joining us. I want to point out, and when I was researching you a little bit more than what I already knew, because you are a conservative stalwart, thank you very much. I found a little thing that indicated in 2018 in your run for Senate, you were quoted as saying there are no compromises, no apologies, and here you are on No Apologies.
That's right. Very fitting.
Nice. That's wonderful. So I thought we would talk a little bit about politics and policies right off the bat. And I want to address our wide open borders. It is such a major crisis. It is fundamentally changing our United States as I see it. And I'm wondering your take on those open borders on the southern border.
Well, what we're doing is turning every town into a border town and every state into a border state because of these open borders. Right now, we have 1.7 million people that they have apprehended at the border. And they can't tell you where all of those people are in the country. And then between the gotaways, you've got somewhere between 500,000 and 1.5 million gotaways. These are people that they could see on imagery that they were coming through, or they know where they're crossing, but they were not able to apprehend them. And what we know is that the cartels are in complete control of that border on the Mexico side. Everybody has to pay the cartel if they're going to come across that border. The going rate right now is about $10,000. So the cartels are getting rich, and the American taxpayer is picking up the tab as soon as those individuals touch U.S. soil.
Right. It is just, it's horrible. And
Yeah.
then we're paying more for it when they're all here. I mean, and speaking of paying more for it, tell me about this bipartisan, air quotes, infrastructure bill too. Talk about a boondoggle and talk about a massive spending package. Holy cow.
Completely massive spending package, which is, they dubbed it as infrastructure, but only about 20% of the bill, about $300 billion goes for roads and bridges and railways and runways and ports and broadband. The rest of it is going into public transit, twice as much for public transit as there is for roads and bridges and highways. Imagine that. And most of that money goes to the East Coast and the West Coast, the big blue cities. The balance of it is all about Green New Deal, money for auto unions, money for electric vehicle kickbacks or electric vehicle subsidies. So this is the way that money is being spent. And then, of course, now they're wanting to turn their attention to Bernie's budget buster, which is the Build Back Broke agenda. And this is Joe Biden's big bill. He says this is his agenda. And, you know, what they're trying to do there is take one vote. And in that one vote, they want to turn us into a socialist country because they're going to take government control of your children, of education, of your health care, of your bank account, your small business. And then there are all of these Green New Deal incentives.
Yeah, that is, I agree with you. Clearly, this was about, it was great if you're up for Green New Deal, and it's great if you happen to live in a large metropolitan area. What some of your colleagues on the Republican side indicated that they voted in favor of it. They are the bipartisan component because they believe that it may prevent the passage. It may help prevent the passage of Bernie's bill, as you called it. I failed to see the logic in that. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think that it will prevent the passage of that. The tax increases that are in Bernie's bill are causing a lot of heartburn for some of the moderate Democrats who are up for re-election. And I know that you all are looking at the Cook report. which kind of handicaps all the races. And we've got several of those Senate re-election races that went from lean Democrat to either toss-up or lean Republican. So that bill of Bernie's is going to stand on its own. It's the largest tax increase ever. It is more spending than ever. These are things that people are not going to say, oh, well, you know, because I'm going to give you a pass because you voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill, or because we did infrastructure, we don't need this. People are going to vote for it or against it because of the tax increases that are there, the energy taxes that are there, the increase on tobacco products that is there. And remember, Joe Biden said, I promise you, I will never raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. Well, not so fast. Then you look at the expansion of all of these programs, social programs, and people have said, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Now, you were talking a little while ago, too, you were talking about socialism and socialistic stuff. We are talking about the Beijing Olympics here shortly.
Yes.
And I saw a piece that you had done talking about this little tennis player from China. And honestly, this scared the crap out of me because I know how they treat the Uyghurs. I know how the Chinese are with people and making them just magically poof, be gone.
Yep. That's right. And Peng Xiao, who is the tennis player, had come out with a post that criticized one of the senior officials with the Chinese Communist Party, accusing him of sexual assault, admitted that she had gone on to have a consensual relationship with him later. And this post disappeared almost immediately, and then she disappeared. And then there was a post retracting this, and then she reappeared this weekend after a couple of weeks. And I think she only reappeared because you had me and Senator Tom Cotton joined me on a letter. You had the World Tennis Association, the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, standing up and saying, hey, what is going on here? And it was pressure on the Chinese Communist Party to bring her back out so people could see that she was alive. We don't know anything about her condition otherwise, if they have been keeping her under wraps, how tightly they're watching her. But bear in mind, this is the Chinese communists. They are much tougher than the Communist Party in Russia when they built the Soviet Union and during the Cold War.
And they definitely sense weakness in President
Yes.
Joe Biden right now, too.
Yes,
and that
they
is
do.
terribly dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah. It absolutely is. I was going to ask you real quick, Senator Blackburn. You've been associated with the Tea Party. And you were in the U.S. House of Representatives since 2003, I think, until 2019, and then before that, State Senate. I, too, and I think Lori, were very active, became even more active with what was happening at the end of George Bush and then Obama, transformation of America. Do you see still a connection with that? Because they were so disparaged and so, you know,
Vilified.
Maligned with the same terms we hear all the time now, racism and so forth. Do you still see a connection there, or do you think that's kind of just by the wayside and we have an entire new thing happening now?
No, I think that a lot of people still identify themselves as someone who was there with the Tea Party. Bear in mind, this happened during Barack Obama's presidency, and the federal spending was out of control. When George W. Bush left office, our nation's total debt was at $10.6 trillion. That took you from George Washington to George W. Bush. And then Barack Obama and Joe Biden doubled it. They passed Obamacare. So people were very tuned in to government spending. I think we're going to see more people stand up and go, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what I voted for when it comes to the Biden policies.
Let's talk about your book. You recently wrote a book, and it is titled The Mind of a Conservative Woman. There it is. And it says on the bottom of it there, seeking the best for family and country. And it looks amazing. From what I have read about it, it looks like it is a tome that women definitely need to read.
Yes, my husband says women and men
Right.
should read this because I talk about the history of conservatism, what motivates women as they move into the public arena, how conservative women are treated by the media, and bring all of that forward in the book as to how it affects public policy and what we want. Most women will tell you they want government out of their pocketbook, off their back. They want to be able to live their lives. They want to make certain that their children know how to respect people, how to respect the country. They want equal treatment under the law. And they want everyone to be filled with great opportunities, all children, to have the opportunity to live their version of the American dream.
This is a beautiful way of describing the Republican Party right there. And that is so true. Women are definitely. Let's go back to your journey. How on earth did you get to the point where you went from businesswoman to actual politician to now author too?
Right. And yes, I grew up in a family that was involved in the community and always involved in the political process. I was a party chair. I would run campaigns for people. I never thought I would be a candidate, but we were trying to recruit a candidate for a state Senate seat that was open. And the tables got turned on me. So I served in the state Senate. I led a 4-year statewide grassroots battle against imposition of a state income tax. We won that. Tennessee has no state income tax. And then I went on to the U.S. House after successfully leading that state income tax fight. So public service is something that I love. I love solving problems for people. I love giving people hope that our nation's best days are ahead of us, that they're not behind us, and opening doors of opportunity for each and every individual.
That's a great message.
Yes,
great
it's such
message.
a great message. I can't even imagine what it is like, though, to write a book in the midst of being a senator, whilst a terrible, frenetic schedule. How on earth did you manage that? That's good time management.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't like to sleep a lot.
Right.
So I always say I buy a couple of extra hours at the end of and beginning of my day, because I am early to bed, I'm late to bed and early to rise.
Mm-hmm.
So, that helps me buy a little bit of extra time.
I totally get that. We can completely relate, can't we?
Oh, yes.
Yes, we can.
Senator Blackburn, I've wondered if it's more difficult in this day and age, as they say, for conservatives, well-known conservatives, to get published. Did you find some resistance? I see that Worthy Publishing is the publishing house that did your book. Anything there?
I had a great experience with Hachette and Worthy, and I am just so pleased to get this book into the marketplace, because what I hope it will do is help a lot of women who are independent minded, who look at the left and they say, wait a minute, you've got to be submissive to their agenda for them to support you. And I've talked to so many women in the business world that say, look, I want to go to work. I want to do my job. I don't want to hear about woke policies. I think that we should focus on equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. I want to be treated fairly. I wanted to be compensated fairly. And that's what you will hear from women. And that's what they're going to find in this book. And a lot of times there are components in here, how-tos, if you will, how to have some of those conversations with colleagues at work that maybe you don't know where they are, but what you want to do is have that conversation and say, look, I want the best for everyone. I want reconciliation when there are broken relationships.
Yep.
Just great nuggets. I don't know about you, but you're singing my song here. You really are.
Great. I like that.
Well, it is. It's very, very true.
And I really like it. I think it's inspiring. I think it exemplifies the Republican message, and that is that it's about lifting up, empowering all people, regardless of race or gender. And which is, I think, when we juxtapose versus the leftist message, maybe not Democrat, but certainly the leftist message, they're about women so long as you think so long as the woman thinks what she's supposed to think,
right.
which is the opposite of empowerment. So
That's right.
I love that you exemplify exactly what's important.
Yes, I think it is so important for women to be independent-minded. And that's not what the left wants. They do not want diversity of opinion. They want people who are going to walk in lockstep. I actually have a chapter in the book where I talk about the Stepford wives of liberalism, because that's what the left is. They want everybody acting exactly the same, saying the same talking points, and working the same way. And women who are in the middle or center right, they will say, no, we want to be an individual. We want to be recognized for our accomplishments. We want our daughters to be recognized for their accomplishments.
Fellas in the booth, if you guys would put up her book on screen one more time so everybody can see it and watch for it, look for it, order it online.
Yes.
However you get a hold of it, you definitely want to
Every
get this
major
book.
bookstore and online. Yes.